Good. Hello. Welcome to the Bee
Hello.
Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I was about to say good morning because it is 8 a.m. In the morning in Melbourne, Australia on Monday, but it is, I think is it 5 p.m., Maggie? What time is it for you?
It's 6 p.m. Eastern time in the US.
Yeah. So whereabouts in the US are you?
I'm in Connecticut, right outside New York City, like New York metro area
Yeah.
generally.
Cool, cool, cool. So Maggie Buchanan, welcome. Welcome to the pod. Nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to connect with me on your weekend on a Sunday evening. That's
Cool.
really
Thank you for
cool.
having me.
Love you. We've got a lot to unpack. We've got a lot to discuss. So Maggie, you are quite the power woman in terms of everything that you've achieved. And, we were just talking about you never lose. You either win or you learn. And we'll get more into that because I feel like there's a fair bit you can share with us around your journey in life, leadership, and business. And I think I'm going to sneeze. So just bear with me for a second. Yeah, it was coming. Sorry. I'm just starting.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Thank you. Okay, I'll pull myself back together. So Maggie, you're the founder and CEO of Residence Inc., and that's an innovative insurance startup dedicated to housing security through low-cost, premium-based insurance solutions. And it sounds like you've got a robust background in economics, public policy, and business, and you've been recognised for Marquis Who's Who for your leadership in insurance services, which is very cool to be recognised for your leadership in the services. Tell us a little bit about your journey. You've had quite the academic background as well, and in when you signed up to or booked in to do an interview for the pod, you talked a little bit about I asked for some insights on life leadership and business, and you said there were so many to choose from, but one thing you did call out was a near-death experience leading to a white light experience that changed everything for you personally. So very intrigued. I'm super curious. So I'll hand it over to
All
you.
right. Well, then let's start from that, I guess. I was way back in the beginning. I was 17 at the time. I, to make a long story short, I got very sick. I had a kidney stone that was stuck between my left kidney and my bladder. So they
Wow.
didn't find it for a while because they didn't assume 17-year-old girl had a kidney stone kind of
No.
thing. Um, Days go by, I get sicker and sicker. I I'm delusional, delirious this whole time. So I barely remember it, but I've been told many times the details, I guess. So to reiterate those, um, I had full body sepsis. All of my vital organs were failing. I broke three records at Yale New Haven Hospital. I had the worst sepsis the doctors there had ever seen and lived through it. I was the patient in the most critical condition in the ICU for 3 days straight and lived through it. And my white blood cell count, you know how like the leukemia patients, they're making too many and it's killing them. They have about 48 to 56 hundred thousand per whatever gram like measurement. I was at 68. It was the highest they had ever seen and lived through it. So my body was fighting to keep me alive.
Wow.
But for 5 days, they thought they were just waiting for me to die. Like my parents were calling family and friends, like, we're going to lose her, and, whole 9 yards. And I was unconscious. I wasn't in a coma. But I wasn't conscious. Um, and during that time, for lack of a better way of putting it, I had this dream. People talk about their white light experiences, and I'm always like, yeah, whatever. But I've had one, and this was this dream. And in this dream, um, I was like on this transporter of some kind. And I jumped out of it and into this bright white air. And I'm not talking about like a soft, pretty white. I'm talking about like a screeching, blinding, like screaming bright white. Like looking into a flash, it didn't stop, bright white. And I had a gun in my hand and I'm shooting at the gun for my life. And I'm like, F you, I'm not going. No, F you, I'm not going. And to my belief system, I basically got a gunfight with God, higher power, whatever you want to call that entity. I got in a gunfight, and that entity let me live. And what I learned coming out of that was like, there's a reason I'm here. I'm not done yet, and there's something I need to accomplish. And I was 17. I had no idea what that might be. No idea. But I kind of got on this quest to figure it out. And as I grew up, I played with this idea. Entrepreneurship was the last thing on my mind. I wanted like the stable 9 to 5,
Yeah.
be married, have kids, lifestyle. Like that's all I wanted. Um, but that's not what happened. It's basically, long story short. But I was on this like quest to figure out like what am I here for? What is my purpose? And in retrospect, it's kind of like this amazing opportunity that, many people go through the motions of life every day. They're just going through the motions, and never realize that they can change their lives, redefine their lives any way they want, anytime they want. And it was this moment for me that made that lesson objectively clear, that I can make my life whatever I want it to be. I go off to college. I'll but fail out. I leave this semester, I would have failed out. If I had finished that semester, I would have failed out. I was not ready to be an adult at a time when it was time to be an adult. And I moved to Boston, um, finished my degree a few years later, again with I discovered public policy at this undergrad that I transferred to, Bentley University, and I love that place. It's a little known business college, business university. And so I discovered public policy, which the difference between political science and public policy, they're like kind of related cousins, but they're very different. Political science is about the politics of the world, like the Capitol Hills, the legislation. Public policy is about solving the problems. It's about this is a problem, how do we fix it? And a joke among public policy people is that we solve the problems and we give them to the political science people on Capitol Hill, and they mess them up as they argue about them, and then they don't work. That's kind of like the difference. They're
How it works.
closely related, but they're different. Public policy is a degree in problem solving. Um, so I finished undergrad with a major in public policy, a minor in economics, and a minor in business studies. I've always been fascinated at the intersection of policy and business. At some point, I cultivated this deeply held belief that we can use capitalist methodology much more efficiently and effectively than we can to solve social problems, than we can use, the government, which is dependent on the whims of whomever's in charge at that moment, as exhibited by current political things happening in the US.
Yeah.
Or, nonprofits, are great and necessary and needed, and my hat's off to you, but are very difficult and dependent on the whims of donors and federal grants in the
Yeah.
US at least.
Very
Um,
similar here.
I'm sure. I'm sorry, I don't know much about Australian
Yeah. Yeah, that's
politics,
okay.
um, but yeah, so I consider myself a capitalist who cares about people. I think we can use capitalist methodology to solve social problems much more easily and effectively and efficiently than any other methodology. And like, whatever you want to say about capitalism, that's the world we live in, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So rolling with it. Okay. I spent some time in between jobs, just I ended up working for a Fortune 500 insurance company, so became very familiar with that concept. Then I decided to go to graduate school. I got a master's in public policy and an MBA, both from Duke. This was during COVID. So I was going into my final year for the policy degree, and I had to decide on a thesis. And I'm reading the headlines, and it's COVID, and I read that people can't pay their rent, people can't pay their mortgage, and the best policy decision the government has is just don't pay your rent. That'll be fine. We'll pay you like $2,000 over 6 months, and you'll be fine. Just don't pay your rent. And I just sat there thinking like there has to be a better way
Yeah.
of securing housing. Like, there has to be a better way. And because I had this familiarity with the insurance model, I was like, why don't we just insure against financial crises? If you look around the world, anything and everything of value is insured.
Yeah.
That is how this everything is insured, like taken care of. But we have no product that helps us when our lives are hard. So if our house gets broken into, robbery, there's a flood, there's a fire, there's
Mm.
whatever, our house is taken care of. But when my life is hard, there's nothing keeping me here. So it took 30 seconds after reading that headline to come up with this concept that, like, why don't we insure it? 2 minutes of research on my phone, realizing this doesn't exist. And then I spent the next year writing a thesis proving that government is failing to secure housing and that a for-profit solution, residents, can do it better. And then I changed my concentration for my MBA to innovation and entrepreneurship to build my skill set to then prove the thesis. And that's what I'm doing now. So residence insurance is a new insurance product that's designed to keep you in your home regardless of your short-term financial crises. What I mean by that is the most likely reasons you'll be evicted or foreclosed on in the United States are short-term crises such as getting laid off, getting fired, or incurring an unexpected medical expense. So under those claim qualifying conditions, we will pay your rent or mortgage directly to your landlord or lender, and you can keep your home. So I provided housing security for you while providing financial security to landlords and lenders. So, the difference between other products that exists, rent guarantee insurance, landlord insurance,
Yeah.
mortgage insurance. For any of those products to kick in, you have to lose your home first before they get paid. And evictions and foreclosures take months. They're incredibly expensive, both in the lost income and in legal fees.
Mm.
Once you have an eviction or foreclosure on your record, have fun getting another house. Like it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for everyone. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's a nightmare. With residence insurance, you keep your home. They don't notice a blip in their income statement. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone. And it's a hole in the market. It doesn't exist. So I'm
Wow.
building.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh. What a story. Wow. I'm every person I'm meeting has a story, but yours is a big story, like, in
Oh,
terms
thank
of like
you.
facing adversity and then just head on and then just like going, no, now it's just like, what is my purpose? I want to go right back to
Go for it.
the gunfight, if you like.
Go
And
for it.
you did you feel in that point in time in your dream that you were actually fight like you said it, but did you feel like like being unconscious, right? Did you just feel like you were trying to be pulled into like did you feel like that was completely that you were being like pulled into being, passing
That
away?
light.
Yeah, like did
Yeah.
you feel like in your unconscious state, did you kind of go, hang on a second, I'm not ready for this? And
Yeah, I absolutely fought back. I was like, nope, not going. Like, I mean, as you know, well, no, I'm sure, in a dream, it feels very real. It's
yeah.
only in retrospect that you realize it's a dream,
And then how
but
did
it feels very real. So in that moment, I was like, no, I'm not going there. I'm done. I'm going back. I'm going home. Like, it was definite a decision and a split second decision and not a decision I needed to think about. I was like, no, I'm not done here. I'm going home. And I
how,
fought like for my life, literally and figuratively, to stay alive.
and how long did that last for? Like that moment in your dream, do you feel like did that was it just you just like it's hard to know how long a dream goes for, right? But you just
Right.
and then did you just wake up? Like what happened after the dream? Like how did
So it was over a course of 5 days that I didn't wake up. They didn't know
yeah.
why I wasn't
Yeah.
waking up. They didn't know why I wasn't dying. They still don't. They had case studies done on me. Yale Hospital, where I am, is a teaching hospital. So every person in medical school and in the entire school went through my room at some point during that time, studying me because I was such an anomaly. Um, Case studies done, like this is how a 17-year-old girl
Yeah.
dies from an infection in a first world country. They had infectious disease specialists flown in from all over the country to figure out why I'm not dying and why I'm not waking up. They couldn't figure it out. Um, my first memories after that dream, like waking up and like talking to a nurse and then waking up again and realizing there was actually no one there and I was just hallucinating. It was days of that. And because I was 17, I was in the pediatric ICU. So, and it was right before Christmas. So this nurse comes in and was like, "Hey, Santa's here. He wants to bring you a present." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm 17 years old. Like,
Calm down. Yeah.
why don't you give it?" And I literally said to her, I was like, "Why don't you have Santa? Santa doesn't need to come to see me. Why doesn't he give the gift to someone who's really sick?" And she laughed in my face. I was like, "Girl, you're the sickest one in here." And like that's the first clue I had of like what had happened. Like it had been really bad. Um, but it just, I don't know, that dream, I don't know what else to call it, the white light experience, that dream, whatever, stuck with me. It's like, there's a reason I'm here and I'm going to figure out what it is. And for the record, like residence is my passion, my baby, my everything. I will do everything in my power to make this work. We're pre-launch right now. We're looking for a fronting
That's going
carrier.
to be my next question.
Yeah, so we're pre-launch. We're looking for a fronting carrier and to enable us to launch nationwide as soon as possible. And yeah, so like that's not like the end goal, I guess I would say.
No, I get it. I get
This
it.
is one goal. This is the first goal. With when manifesting my own destiny, whatever, when we succeed and exit and create this product that'll help so many people keep their homes. And not only in the US, but globally. Like there isn't a country I know of that doesn't have a rent or a mortgage population,
No.
so globally, like let's help people keep their homes.
Mm.
Even when their lives are hard, like let's do this. This product needs to exist. Um, So, once that's all said and done, and this is stable and working and done, my end goal is I want to create a think tank, and most think tanks are nonprofit, where, and I want a for-profit think tank. Let's go, let's sit around, get a bunch of smart, talented, visionary people involved and solve social problems
Mm.
with capitalist methodology. And then we can build this into, and we can just solve problems. Go, go, go. Oh, you come to me with a solution? All right, let's build it. Here's your equity, here's my equity, or the company's equity. Let's build it. Just solve problems over and over again. Again, I consider myself a capitalist who cares about people.
Yeah, I love that. Do you feel like you're in a hurry, like in terms of, given that you've had this near-death experience, like this is your first goal ultimately, and like you're on the, you're in pre-launch stage, etc. Do you feel like the mission is pushing you to at pace, or do you feel like you're allowing the purpose to come through and it's presenting itself when it needs to? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel
Yeah,
like you're at that, like, since you've had this near-death experience, just like, I've got to just fit everything in, I've got to do so much? Or do you think it's more for you about, no, I'm just actually going to explore, be curious. I want to do this, I want to do this, but I'm going to see what comes my way.
so the other repercussion of that specific near-death experience, and in the interest of full disclosure, there have been more than one near-death experiences in my history. My dad calls me a cow with 9 lives. He's like, you got half of life left. Take it easy.
Yeah, I've
But
had a couple myself.
so they're dramatic.
Oh yeah.
Um,
But you don't think about them as dramatic at the time. I remember once a cinema
no.
roof collapsed on, I was at a work, function, and well, we were presenting. I was in Cebu in the Philippines, and next thing I'm like, the CEO, I have to get him on the pod one day. And this water, he was always, we had like this massive show on. We'd put it together for him. And so I felt all these sparkles coming down. I'm like, what the hell is he doing now? And I was sitting next to him, and it was actually water. And then the next thing, the roof's just collapsing everywhere. It was over 250 of us in this cinema. It was a cinema.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and he saved my life because one piece just was, I froze. I just was absolutely
Yeah.
frozen. And it went, and it just slid right past me. It just pushed me out the way. And we were wading through all this water, looking for dead people. It was pretty full on, yeah.
Oh
But
my
at the
goodness.
time, we come out of it and you're just like, what the hell was that? And like, I probably haven't,
Yeah.
like, it was just one of those, like, holy shit, I could have died just then.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's terrifying. And like in retrospect, when you reflect on those experiences, it changes the way you see the world and
Yeah,
in many, it changes it for me.
yeah, me too.
Um, so like for example, as I mentioned, COVID was when this epiphany happened. I graduated in 2022. It is now 2025 or pre-launch. The reason for that, there was about a year and a half, 2 year hiatus in between that time where I was not functional because of another near-death experience. My kidneys both failed. I was in critical condition in the ICU for 12 days. I was in the ICU for 16 days total. I was in the hospital for 3.5 weeks. I remember nothing from 3 days before I went to the hospital to 3 days before I left the hospital.
Oh.
And then, and again, my parents making calls like, we're going to lose her this time. And I'm still here. Um, and, and I'll get back to your question about whether I feel rushed, but from there, I developed epilepsy, severe epilepsy. So I had 16 grand mal seizures and more petite mal seizures than I can possibly count in the next 11 months. So I had brain damage, I had memory damage. I don't remember any of 2023.
Yeah.
Like if I met you in 2023, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. That kind of thing. I'm better. It's a miracle, but I'm kicking. I'm going. And I've healed and everything's on the up and up and my kidneys are healing and it's all miraculous. But yeah, so there was a reason for that pause that if you wanted to go through that timeline. But does it make me feel like I'm in a rush? No. I've never been a religious person, although I was raised in a religious family. That's just not how I see the world. But that near-death experience did give me this spiritual belief of there's something bigger than me. And I don't know what it is, and I don't pretend I'm human. I can't pretend, I'm not gonna pretend to know what it is. I'm just a human. Um, but I know that I'm not done yet, is what that's taught me. So I'm not necessarily in a rush, and I am also aware that things are going to work out the way they're supposed to, provided I keep working forward, like moving forward. Like I
Yeah.
have this quote right in front of me. I love good quotes from amazing people. It's a Martin Luther King one in this case. And he says, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward.
Yeah, I totally
As long
agree.
as I keep moving forward, I'm good.
Yeah, because you talk about embracing a little bit of madness and insanity when it comes to being an entrepreneur, right? And it's a necessary ingredients to actually move forward and bounce forward, like that's that discomfort, the chaos, the unknown.
Insanity.
It's insanity. Some days you're just like, what the actual F am I doing? Like, this is just insanity, right? And you
Yeah,
apply that to life in terms of their pressure signals. It's like that whole, it's asking you to evolve. It's asking you to trust. And there's days where you're just like, I have no belief, but I'm actually just going to persist on this journey. Because I actually, as much as I may not believe, I don't have any belief. I am trusting I'm trusting the process. I know that this is
exactly.
going to work out in no matter what way, shape, or form. May not be the way you anticipated, but it's
Exactly.
going to work out the way it's meant to. And I find that in leadership, I find that in life, I find that in as an entrepreneur as well. Like some days there is this just this insanity and the madness around it. Do you, and I guess you called it out, you embrace it, right?
Absolutely. It's like people ask like the big famous entrepreneurs of this world questions like what does it take to be a successful founder, that kind of thing. And they're like perseverance. Well, anyone who's followed a career path perseveres. Has had ups and downs in their lives. They persevere. Hard work. Well, like my my friend who cleans houses, she works so hard, but she's not that doesn't make her a successful founder. What makes people successful founders is like insanity, this madness, this undying belief that like you can pull this off.
Yeah, even on the days when
Like
you
no
don't have
matter
it.
what, you keep crawling, you keep moving inch by
Yeah,
inch
I'm going
forward,
through it right
you will
now.
pull this off. This is insanity
Yeah,
to be a founder.
it is because I'm having it right now. Even on the days when you lose your belief, I should say it's more about losing belief. Something like
Yeah.
yes, like the last year, past few days, I don't know. I've just been a little bit like, oh God, where is this all heading? How's this all going to work out? And then next thing I have this
It doesn't matter because
no,
it's like
but
you
then I
just
had
keep
this
moving
insane
forward.
madness where I'm just like, and I'm like bashing
Yeah.
stuff out, and it's like here it comes again, like that wave of just like, it's like I don't know, is it adrenaline? What is it? Talk to me about your. Let's pull into this inner white light, right? Like, I'm all about like soulful, conscious leadership, which is probably a little bit about like, well, how you capitalism for people and caring and things like that. Do you feel like in terms of this, this white light experience and the pivots you've taken along the way, you started with your degrees in uni and then you found this opportunity, like this is what I'm going for. I'm all about this soulful-led leadership. Do you see that that's almost having that experience and being so connected to yourself and to something, higher order, if you like? Is that being exemplified in the way you're leading? Do you feel like it's more soulful? Do you think it's, and I'm not talking religious here, I'm just talking about, more conscious, more purpose driven. Like, talk to me a little bit about that. And if that has
So,
actually shaped the way you lead to a degree.
so my whether this, I don't know whether to qualify this as like a spiritual belief or just my belief. There is nothing I hold, there's no value or part of me or part of anyone I hold more near and dear to my heart than integrity.
I love
And
it.
integrity is at its core the most valuable thing in this world to me. So my business partner and I, for example, um, there is nothing legal about our equity split, for example. Like it just doesn't like that's based on a handshake because I have integrity and he has integrity and we both live these lives of integrity. And that's one thing I really, really value about our relationship. Um, because we're not trying to underhand each other. We're not trying to, I brought a business partner on board a few years later because I knew I couldn't do it alone. And the value of just like my handshake means something. And at the end of the day, that matters to me more than anything else.
Mm.
My word means something. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. When I say I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to do it. When my friends come to me, like they know I call it my vault. They're like, this is a vault secret. Like, I don't care if our friendship blows up and you're the worst person ever. My vault is my integrity. And that all stemmed from this belief that there's some bigger purpose. That like, who am I going to be? What kind of person do I want to choose to be? Pre the first most dramatic near-death experience that I've mentioned, that was just a word in the dictionary to me. Post, that's not. That's what I value more than anything. It's my integrity.
Yeah,
And so as far as a company's concerned, culture starts at the top
I
and
100%.
100%. And so it's a conversation Martin, my co-founder, and I have often is what kind of company do we want to start and what kind of company do we want to be?
Yeah.
And that comes down to like our integrity, our goodness. And that's what we value most. So, I love the Netflix model as far as company culture is concerned, where, it's not like we're a family. Like, no, if you mess up, you're going to get fired. Like this is still
Yeah,
business,
agree.
but it's like we're a professional sports team. We play as a unit, we work as a unit.
And that's how you get
If
into
you
that
don't pull your
collective
weight,
flow. Yeah.
sorry.
That's how you get into that collective flow state where you're shining your brightest, you're feeling and you're performing at your best. That's that whole getting into the flow state. You have to
You're only
have,
as strong as your weakest player. So bring that bottom up. It's that kind of thing, that same kind of thing. Like, we are a team. We work together, we work well together, and we have each other's backs always. And
yeah,
when he says something, I trust it with my heart and soul. When I say something, he trusts it with his heart and soul.
that's what a genuine
And that's the culture, that's the company culture and the individual culture and the people culture we value.
Yeah, I think about it like energy, attitude, and behavior. Like I think about culture that way in terms of culture for me just feels like such a word. Um, dictionary word like you mentioned before. Whereas I'm just like, yes, you need your culture, but what is the energy, attitude, and behavior that you want to personify within the business as an individual, as a company, as a team? And those set of values that you create, how are you putting those values into action? Because quite often you'll see businesses that, oh, we've got these values, but it's like they're just sitting on a wall. They're not even being brought through the business. How are you personifying that? How is your energy, attitude, and behavior reflecting those values? And how are you putting those values into practice into everything you do? I think that's critical, even more so when you're in startup mode. And especially if you've got people coming on board, I've done startup previously to start up in my own business now. And for every, 5 people that joined a business I was in previously, culture was like the thing we had to eat. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like a meal that we were constantly having to consume and it was that energy, attitude, and behavior that really put us in good stead to succeed the way we wanted to succeed.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that also comes, I feel like, at least from my experience, a lot of being willing to say, I don't know. And
Oh,
like feeling safe to say, I don't know.
mm.
They're like one of the big factors I brought Martin on board is he's a lot of knowledge and experience that I don't have. And like so if I don't know something, I'm gonna go figure it out. But I'm not like scared to say like I know what I don't know. I know there's a lot I don't know and I love to learn. And like you brought up curiosity earlier. It's the same thing kind of thing. That avid curiosity is like I want to know, but I don't know. So I'm gonna go figure it out.
Yeah.
And and that comes right into the culture we've created where it's okay. It's not a sign of weakness to say I don't know. It's a sign of strength to say I don't know and then go find out.
100%. So tell me a couple of quick questions before I let you get back to your Sunday evening. You're in pre-launch stage. So when do you officially launch the company? Like are you testing market at the moment? Testing
To
your
be
product at the
determined.
moment?
It's really, really, and then let's be clear, it's impossible to pilot test an insurance product
Yeah.
in many ways, in many senses of the word, simply because it's so regulated.
Yeah, stupid
So one
question.
of our huge
Question of
difficulties
mine.
is, sorry?
I said stupid question of mine to think that you could test the product
Yeah,
in
you can't
market.
just like make, you
No,
can't really
regulated,
pilot test
yeah.
it. There's no really minimum viable product to launch. It's you're either launching or you're not.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of steps in the background that have to be accomplished prior to that launch. Um, we have 90%, I'd say, maybe more of the puzzle pieces in place. The ducks are in a row. We're just looking for that final piece of the fronting carrier agreement that'll enable us to get through the regulations, which is a whole other hurdle for the same reason. It's a new product. So the way they regulate us, they're not quite sure yet. So that all takes a lot of time and figuring it out and all these details in the background. Um, so I couldn't tell you honestly. I can give
How
you a
long?
guesstimate, but I couldn't honestly tell you this exact date we're launching.
Yeah, right.
Um, so it may be 6 months, it may be 8 months, it may be hopefully not longer, but like that, it'll as soon as possible, but because we can't pilot it and then pivot kind of thing, it's as soon as possible, provided it's done right.
Yeah. And so then how do you, two more questions actually. How do you
Go
then,
for it.
so how do you, is this what you're doing full time? Like, is this like it's obviously your baby, right? Like, how do you make it work in terms of, you're not like, I know what it's like as an entrepreneur, like you've got bills to pay. Like,
So I
you're,
work three part-time jobs on top of this full-time work. So I work nights, I work weekends. I don't have another full-time job because the 9 to 5s don't fit the schedule of a
yeah,
startup, so I work part-time jobs, three of them, nights and weekends because they do fit the schedule so I can do this. So I work on residents pretty much from 7:30 to 3:30 every day. And then I go to my jobs, my other jobs depending on the schedule. And so I work as an SAT, ACT, college essay tutor in the evenings. I work at a recovery house overnights and weekends, and that's overnights as well. So I, you know, can make money in my sleep essentially. And I work as a recovery coach as well.
wow,
And
gosh,
that's another fun fact is the reason I dropped out of the first school is the first undergrad is dropped out and went to rehab. Um, so I'm 14 years sober now, and I work as a recovery coach and at a residential recovery treatment center.
wow. Gosh, just putting that one out there when we're about to end this podcast. I'm like, I want to get you back on and talk about being a recovery coach because it just like
Yeah.
sounds
I'm
fascinating.
happy to. It's great. It's incredibly rewarding, and I love it.
Yeah,
Um,
incredible. So
but
what would be your last, like in terms of your advice to anyone who is looking to get to start a business?
My advice.
What would you be your advice? Knowing and let's put the near-death experiences and adversity you've faced, in terms of even what you've just talked about now. What would be your advice to that person? They're umming and ahhing. Do I just keep doing what I'm doing? I'm in this role. It's safe. It's comfortable. What would your
So
advice?
I have as I've mentioned, I love quotations. So like that Nelson Mandela one we referenced earlier, I never lose, either I win or I learn. Like that's one of like that one's tattooed on me kind of thing. Like I love quotations. So all over my office here, I have all these inspirational quotes that I love so much that are like my motivational mantras kind of thing that they're the first things I see. So one right here, like on my printer, is an Albert Einstein one that says, "You never fail until you stop trying."
Yeah, I love that one.
And then the other one I bring up is a Walt Disney one that's over there that says, "First," and this works for all founders, but first, think, second, believe, third, dream, and finally, dare.
Mm.
And that's what I'd say to any founder. Just go for it. You never fail until you stop trying.
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't. And you can always go back. Well, I don't believe in going
Yeah.
backwards, but you can always
You
go
learn and then readjust.
100%. You reshape, you redefine. It's all about being the formless. Well, Maggie, how do we find out more about you?
Um, actually, I mean, I don't know if you attach like LinkedIn
Yeah, I
links
will
or,
be.
find
Yeah.
me on LinkedIn, Maggie Buchanan.
Yeah, cool.
Um, I normally have super curly hair, so that's the LinkedIn photo you'll see.
Yeah, awesome. You need to start a book around quotes or something. I'm feeling that will be part of your journey in life as well, the Maggie Buchanan book of quotes.
Well, I appreciate that.
But Maggie, thank you so much. Wow, what an incredible
You
woman you are. And I feel like you're only just getting started. Like I just can't wait to see
go.
what you do in this big wide world. And it's super exciting and wishing you all the vibes for Residence Inc. and getting it off the ground, in the next, I'm going to say 6 months. I feel like it's going to be in 6 months, not 8 months. So I've got that feeling, quite intuitive. But thank you and have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
rest of the evening on Sunday.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you.